Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Melissa Fogarty and I'm the Assistant Dean for Management Master's Programs at the Yale School of Management. During today's webinar, we'll be talking about the Master's Program in Global Business and Society at Yale. I'm lucky to be joined by 4 of our current students in the charter class of this program who are here to share their experiences with you being a member of the GBS program at Yale. I'll start by introducing the program briefly, and many of you may have joined us a few weeks ago when we did a comprehensive overview of the GBS program together with our Director of Admissions, Joanne Legler. We won't repeat everything from that program during today's session, but we do have a webinar recording of that available on our website if you'd like to review that as well. I'll start by just introducing the program briefly to you. The GBS program is in its charter year with a class of 2019 comprised of 32 students. These students come to us from Master in Management programs in the Global Network for Advanced Management. And they come to Yale to spend 9 months in a full-time in-residence program where they are studying alongside students in the other master's programs at the Yale School of Management. This is an incredibly diverse global cohort representing 17 different countries of citizenship. 34% of the class are women. We're hoping to bring that number up a bit next year. And the class speaks an incredible number of languages. Each student in the class speaks more than one language, and an incredible 41% speak 4 or more languages. You'll also see on your screen that these students have worked and studied in countries all over the world and are bringing those perspectives to the classroom here at Yale. So let's meet a few of those students now. Our panelists, we have 4 of our panelists here from the GBS program. I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves briefly to you, and then we'll open the floor to your questions. So you can see in your webinar function that there's a chat function where you can enter questions that you'd like the students to talk about. I'll ask the students those questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can during the rest of today's session. So to kick things off, I'll turn over to Olivier, and would you mind introducing yourself briefly?
So hi everyone, I'm Olivier. I'm from Quebec, Canada, and I completed my Master's in Management last spring, in UBC in Vancouver. So I'm here at the GBS program. I'm the cohort representative, and I also am in student government and in diverse committees around campus. So I'm really involved. So any questions about involvement or anything, you can go to me for that. And previously, I worked in nonprofit. I worked in economic development, and I was also lucky to intern last year at the Better Business Bureau in a consulting function.
Hi everybody, I am Regina. I previously studied in Bocconi University and IE Business School where I did my Master in Management. During my studies I did some internships, I worked for PwC, and now here at GBS I am involved in different clubs. I am part of the consulting club and the arts club.
Perfect. So welcome everyone. My name is Mustafa and I was born and raised in Pakistan, where I studied accounting and finance undergrad at the Lahore University of Management Sciences. After that, I worked for 2 years for some of the biggest infrastructure projects of the country relating to transportation, taxation, and microfinance. Beyond that, I went to Turkey to do my master's in international management at Koç University in Istanbul. And yes, now I'm here. I'm actually involved with the South Asian Club, and I'm helping them arrange a lot of events that are coming up. I'm with the Case Competitions Club as well. So in case you're into that kind of things, I'm always open for questions.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki. I'm from Austria, and I previously attended the HEC Paris Master in Management program. Between the first year of my master's and my year here at Yale, I had the chance to do a couple of internships in consulting. Before that, I also interned at L'Oreal in marketing. And here at GBS, I particularly enjoyed getting chances to get involved with the consulting club, but also with the diverse community here. It's incredible how many different nationalities are represented, not only in our program, but also in all the other programs. I enjoy doing sports a lot, which is really easy and really nicely facilitated here at Yale. Sports facilities are super cool. And come to me with all kinds of questions on the program, on career options, especially around consulting, and daily life questions you might wonder about here at Yale.
Great. Well, that's a perfect segue into our next section where we'd love to hear questions from you. So I'll pose some questions to our panelists. I see that you're already entering a bunch of questions for them. So we'll kick things off with maybe each of you can answer this. How did you first learn about the GBS program?
So I learned about the GBS program through an email prompt. So since this is the first year of the program, last year we were spammed with a bunch of emails, and one of them was about this new program. And immediately I looked into it and I applied, and here I am. But I guess is to keep an open mind and to read these emails that sometimes you think are junk.
Yeah, actually, I had the same. So I received an email. I was at IE, and they were explaining about this new program Yale had. And actually, then I saw this thing, your course, your class about this course, and now I am here.
So like my story is pretty similar as well. I was actually visiting Pakistan at that time for my brother's wedding, so like everything was super messed up. But I got this email and I was like, this is like not happening. It's probably a spam as well. But then like another follow-up email came and I'm like, okay, this may be happening and I should apply and just check this out.
I discovered this really cool option when I really looked more deeply into the second year options at HEC Paris, which were on the one hand options that made me stay at HEC, and on the other hand double degree options. And in my opinion, going to Yale was just the coolest thing I could have imagined back then, and mainly because I learned that there is a lot of flexibility within the program here on choosing courses you want to take even outside of School of Management, which to me was one of the most enticing factors. And on top of that, I just wanted to experience living in a new country again with a, very distinct culture, I would say. And all of that has proven to be a really good decision so far, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Great. Well, let's talk a bit about the courses that you're all taking. So about 60% of the curriculum in the GBS program is your required GBS curriculum, and about 40% of your time is spent choosing electives at the School of Management and elsewhere across Yale. So I'm sure prospective students would love to hear what kind of classes did you all choose, and what class have you enjoyed the most so far?
Well, yeah.
We'll start with Nikki. Yeah?
I can start. So in terms of core classes, I think you all have done a great job in picking classes that on the one hand are extremely popular across all kinds of programs at School of Management. In particular, I enjoyed digital strategy, which we had during Fall 1, a subject where we talked about developments in the digital sphere and how these impacted businesses and business models, which was very interesting. Talking about my electives, I very much enjoy a class called Advanced Management of Software Development, but also a very non-School of Management related class, for example, Introduction into Cognitive Sciences, which allows me to diversify my knowledge away from business only, but into very unrelated topics that are still super interesting to me.
Great.
Nice. So like for me, starting off with the core, the Global Business and Society Perspectives course, it actually like has raw cases. So in case you guys do not already know what raw cases are, I'll ask you to look them up. So they're like really detailed cases on how a company is operating, and they range from we recently did a case on Aadhaar card in India, Aadhaar system in India, and then it ranges from Aadhaar to Pepsi, and there are like so many things happening in there. So you really get different perspectives, or really are able to frame things in a different manner that you had previously. Apart from that, for electives or core electives, I took managing social enterprises, and that was like pretty much in line with my career aspirations, because initially I actually wanted to do public policy, but then I found about this program. I was like, okay, this is like, it factors in my business background, and also it has an element of society into it as well. So that's why I took managing social enterprises and really enjoyed that.
Yes, for me, core courses, one course that I really enjoy is GBS, the one Mustafa was talking about. I really like it because every session we have different professors that lead the case, so it's very nice to, being always taught by amazing professors. It's so interesting, and usually they're in two, so they bring two different perspectives. Also, I would say digital strategy was an amazing course, and the professor was very amazing. As far regarding the electives, right now I'm taking a private equity and venture capital, which I love it. And another course that I really enjoyed in fall one was leadership and humanities, which was a course basically exploring leadership through works of literature. So every week we had to read different pieces of literature, like, I don't know, Machiavelli or, I don't know, Shakespeare or whatever, and it was amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I guess my approach to selecting courses was a little different. I looked at what would best complement my previous degree and what I felt I was lacking from my previous degree. So although we covered a lot of economics and very math heavy, I still thought I needed to stretch myself into those types of courses. So when I looked at my electives, I really wanted to make sure I got some electives that were more econ based. So I took competitive strategy and healthcare strategy, which are both courses that are very heavy on the economics. And I really appreciate that because I can see now how it better applies to all the other classes. And when looking at the advanced management courses that we call core courses, I really appreciated the managing social enterprises because it brought forward a new way of thinking, a new way of combining business, but also society, which is really at the core of the school's mission. So looking back, I would say my feedback and my recommendation would be to try to see what best complements what you already have and in what areas you find that you want to improve more and look at building a schedule that's really up to that.
Fantastic. One thing that I was a little bit surprised and delighted by when the GBS students first arrived on campus was the number of students, even though you all come with such incredible language ability, who were interested in continuing to take language courses at Yale while they were here. So many students are taking courses at Yale undergrad in foreign languages as well. So that's another popular option that we hear a lot. Outside the classroom, how would you all describe the SOM community?
So I guess I can start being very involved in the community because I'm in student government. I think the community is a very diverse place where a lot of activities happen. Social events are, it's hard to plan my calendar. There's so many. And I try to do them all, but it's just not possible. So you really have to pick the ones that you're most interested and passionate about. But I'd say it's a place where everybody's kind of included. It's a very inclusive space, and there are a lot of things that are done to try to make that the best as possible. For example, today is Day of Thanks, where we get to thank people around the community just for being here or just for anything they do. So I took the opportunity to thank Kimberly, that's at the reception, and that smiles at me every morning and says good morning and really makes me feel at home. So that's the type of activity they have here at SOM that really make it diverse and unique.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would say the same. It's here you have the opportunity to do everything, literally everything you want to do, not only from SOM, but also different colleges, different schools organize so many cool events. You always have to check the calendar to see if there are new events coming up. And also another thing that I would like to add is the fact that if you want to start a new event, if you want to launch something new, you receive so much support. There's a community that helps you and they sustain you in doing this. So it's it's great. Yeah.
I think one of your classmates is going to be teaching a French dance class coming up. So we love when students are able to bring their own expertise and become leaders and teach their classmates that way as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. So just building onto that here, time is actually the scarcest of resources that you have. There's so much going on, and building your calendars, it's super hectic, but you have to do it in order to arrange and plan out everything. Otherwise, you're just gonna forget it. And also, another thing that the school does is, which I really like, is that every Thursday we have this closing bell. So at about 5 p.m., the entire SOM community, which includes MBAs, GBS, MAMs, they all gather around at a central place, and they just have a chat, and they connect with each other, have a drink, or eat something, which is something really nice to build that culture of a closed community or a family that we have in SOM.
I don't have much more to add. One thing coming from HEC, though, that I really enjoy here at Yale School of Management is that all programs are united in one building, which really facilitates getting to know one another, even across programs. And also the clubs and other events facilitate that interaction between programs, which is why now I would say I have a third of the new friends and connections I made here are from MBA programs or executive MBA programs. And that's really cool because it connects you to, on the one hand, people that might have more experience than you and might help you guide your decisions, be it professional or personal. And on the other hand, just opens up a whole new range of new people you could meet instead of just meeting the people within your program, which also is very cool, but it's just much more.
And I don't know if you realize this watching, but we're actually sitting in Edward P. Evans Hall right now in one of the classrooms recording, so you can get a sense of what it looks like inside the building. I'll turn to Olivier for a question. So what is coming up this coming weekend? Are there any interesting activities?
Yeah, so as I said, this week is really busy. It's Day of Thanks today. And then the feature event of the week, which I actually organized, and it was the biggest event I've organized so far, and I'm really hopeful that everybody comes, is a big tailgate. There's a big rivalry between the Ivy League schools, and this week is the biggest on-campus football game opposing Princeton to Yale. So I think about 400 of our community members are going to be present Saturday morning for some beverages and for some food and for a good football game. So that's a big event that we're highlighting this week.
Fantastic. So I'm going to build off something that Olivier mentioned earlier, which is using the GBS program and its courses in order to build on what you studied during your MIM program. So can you give us a bit more advice around that? So how does this program help you integrate what you already learned in your MIM into a next year of study?
I could start off with that. And I would like to pick a particular example where I think that the goal is not to necessarily learn new frameworks, but to really apply what you've learned. And this is the GBS class that we all have together, our whole program has together every Friday, where the professor, David Bach, he explicitly mentioned that we are not supposed to necessarily learn new frameworks, but we in this class have the aim to look at a raw case, so at a complex situation, and decide for ourselves which of the frameworks we already learned during our first year we should apply in that situation, and that might help us guide our way to the solution. So there are really a couple of classes that try to build on what you already have, plus you have the option to choose electives that you consider help you complement your education in the way you want it to be.
Fantastic. So a couple questions are coming in about the application process, and one in particular, is it possible to apply without a GMAT? So I can answer that. What we accept in terms of standardized testing is the same standardized test that you used for your Master in Management program. In some of your cases, for example, if you were part of the Prépa program at HEC, you're not going to need to take the GMAT exam for us if you were not using the GMAT for your HEC application. Students applied to us with a variety of different tests, or in some cases they were not required to take a test for their MIM. So the bottom line is you don't need to go out and take a separate test just to apply for the GBS program. I'll ask you all if you want to contribute some advice here as well. What advice do you have for candidates preparing their application? Did you learn anything along the way that you think would be helpful?
I don't know. I think my biggest advice would be just try to reflect yourself in your application. I would say, I remember that in my essays I was freaking out, trying to understand what to write, but in the end I went for trying to picture myself in the best way as possible, so really truly personalize it. So I would say personalize your application, say what you're passionate about, what you like, your strengths, also your weaknesses if you would like. So I think, just personalize it and show the mission team who you are and why do you want to come to Yale.
Yeah, I think I'll add into what Yuji just said. So for me, it's always about 3 things that I do when I'm writing an application. First happens to be like what you've already done. Second, what you learned out of that. And third, like how it impacted the environment around you. So normally the applications that I see primarily for the people who are just asking me for some guidance, it's like, this is something that they did and this is how it changed the world. So even if you've done something which hasn't changed the world entirely, because that is something super difficult, so you can just explain a little about how it impacted a small number of people, but an essential part of the application happens to be when you explain what you learned out of that. And that is something I believe, I cannot speak from the admissions committee though, but that is something that would actually tell them about the unique thing that you'll be bringing into this diverse cohort of 32 people. I think it'll be expanded in the next year. So yeah, so do focus on what you learn from those experiences as well. And that is something I feel lacks in a lot of applications that we normally see.
My advice personally would be like that you don't need to have changed the world to apply. Maybe Mustafa did, but I for sure have not. But what I would say is to be creative, because no one wants to read a blank piece of paper with 3 paragraphs. I mean, I was super creative and I put like colors, I themed it to what I thought was represented myself. And I mean, obviously the framework that Mustafa just talked about is a very concrete way to just kind of showcase yourself. So I'd say blend what Yuji said and what Mustafa did and add some creativity and add some color.
Great. And so what did your timeline look like from when you learned about the program to when you submitted your application? One question that we've gotten is how did you juggle your MIM studies with preparing your GBS application?
So like personally, I'll take over. So personally, I actually started from the winter break. So we weren't having any classes back then. But then again, normally, in case if you're in your final semester, you'll be applying for the jobs as well, right? So you already have some time segmented out of your academics that you give to your job applications. So here you actually have to decide the priorities that you'll be doing in case you think that you want to, so just like managing time, right? So you already have time out of your studies for job applications. You can also take some time out of those job applications to do the university applications. That is how I saw things while I was doing them.
Great. So we'll shift gears for a moment. Many questions are coming in about where you all live and what is it like to live in New Haven. So why don't we start with, do you live on or off campus? And do you have any advice for how to find your housing?
So on-campus housing is not like what you traditionally would think is on-campus housing. On-campus housing is just basically that Yale is so big and you basically live in New Haven. So because it spans from one end of the city to the other end of the city. Actually, Mustafa and I both live in the same building. We applied through graduate housing. I never expected to get an answer within 20 minutes, but within 20 minutes I had an apartment and I thought I'd have to come. And it's been really convenient because it has Yale Wi-Fi and you don't have to worry about all those things. And you're also with people from the different programs, not just SOM, but like the girl in front of me is from the School of Forestry. The person next to me is from the Divinity School. So it's really cool to have that experience also in your living quarters.
Great.
And also like most of the housing, especially the Yale housing, it's connected through bus networks, which you can like totally leverage in order to come to campus or go away. Because I think those would be super important in case when the weather is not nice, when it's snowing and those kind of things. So when you're like looking for housing, I would suggest apply for the Yale housing. But in case if you don't get it, there are like so many places nearby. And I think Nikki could add into that. Way better than me, yeah.
So I live in non-Yale housing.
Yeah.
I live in a regular apartment that I, together with a colleague from HEC who also came to Yale, rented out. And the way we found it was just searching through Zillow, an online platform or whatever. We started on Google basically, and then we got 2 or 3 appointments with brokers who gave us video tours through the apartment so that we could get a better picture of how it really looked. And eventually Thomas and I, my roommate and I, we were very lucky. We got a great apartment right behind School of Management. Depending on where you're coming from, prices in the States are generally pretty high for rent, but I guess that really depends where you come from on the one hand, and on the other hand, you can't change it anyway. I think graduate and school housing is okayly priced. My apartment well, I would say if I stayed here for more than 1 year, I'm not sure if I could stay in that apartment. But it's very nicely located, and you can find something great for an okay price, I think.
Great. So how about getting to and from campus? We mentioned a bit the shuttle system, and I will also note there's an app for the shuttle, so you don't need to wait outside. You can see when the bus is coming and go out just at the right time. But do any of you have a car? Do you feel you need a car, or how do you get around?
So I'm the only one out of the students that has a car, and honestly, I don't use it from Monday to Friday. I just walk everywhere. It's just easier. Honestly, the only time I use the car is like if one of my classmates has to go for groceries. I'm usually just the class Uber, but honestly, you don't need a car. Everything is walkable. There's Tap Ride, which is also kind of like the free Uber from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. And then there's shuttles that can bring you everywhere. So you really don't need a car because everything is very walkable.
Yeah, I would say the same. I live 15 minutes from SOM, so like I live more towards downtown, and actually like I love walking here because the walk is very nice, and you don't need a car. I would say so. And also I really love Tap Ride, which is the service Oli was saying about. So basically, it's a sort of free Uber. After 6 p.m., you can just say your point A and B, where you want to go, where you are and where you want to go, and a bus will come and pick you up, and everything is for free, so it's pretty convenient. And also here there are many different types of means of transportation. There's Uber, Lyft, or Zillow, so whatever you want, you can have access to.
I'd add that there's also the train that leaves every half hour to the city.
What city?
To New York City, but you can also connect to Hartford if ever that's interesting to you. And then you can also connect to Boston or like Philadelphia and DC just with the trains. And the trains are commuter trains, so they're really low cost.
Excellent. Well, it's lunchtime here in New Haven, and there's a question, what is the food like, and do you have a favorite place to eat? What kind of recommendations can you give around that? I'll start by saying we do have a dining hall within Evans Hall, the School of Management building, and we also have a wonderful coffee shop where you can frequently find me enjoying a delicious chai latte. But what other places do you like to eat at?
I could start. I'm guilty of being a fast food lover. I love Shake Shack, I love Five Guys, getting a burger there. But then also there are other really good options from Indian food. You could check out House of Naan if ever you're around here. To other more high-end restaurants if you like fancy food. I heard that New Haven has one of the highest restaurant densities in restaurants per capita in the US. I guess that's because there's so many students here who don't really cook themselves, and I really enjoy that a lot. So there's a lot of variety. You would definitely enjoy food, and New Haven is particularly famous for its pizza. There are many pizza places, and the pizza is awesome. You could find very thin crust, but also thick crust pizza, everything you want. You're gonna be happy about food when you come.
Yeah, like talking about pizza, being Italian. Coming here, I was a little bit afraid of food, but actually it was a pleasant surprise to discover that there are many restaurants and pizza is not bad. It's okay. You can eat it.
That's
good.
A lot coming from Italy.
I must say she sent my first pizza that I ordered here back, but I thought it was good.
But that was good. So some of the restaurants I like are Barcelona, Shells and Bones. You have many different options actually, whatever you like. There's also fast food, as Nikki was saying. So you can have both the American experience, like fast food, but also like a more fine type of cuisine, I would say.
Great. And have any of you taken advantage of Restaurant Week in New Haven, or have you heard about this yet? So there's a week when restaurants offer discounted pricing for prefix meals in New Haven to encourage people to try out some of the fancier places. So I encourage y'all to take a look at that yet, if you haven't yet. Someone is asking about outdoor activities or places to hike and spend time outside. And Nikki, you'd mentioned some sports earlier that you're involved in. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. So sports facilities at Yale are amazing. You have the Payne Whitney gym, which is huge. You have a regular gym to work out with weights, but you also have a couple of courts where you could play basketball. People play soccer there sometimes. So you could basically do anything indoors. Outdoors, there are also a couple of opportunities. There are tennis courts if you like that. And if you want to go hiking, I've actually just been hiking yesterday because it was one of the most beautiful fall days I've ever seen. And there are a couple of hiking trails that are in the close proximity to downtown New Haven. If we took an Uber, took us 10 minutes to get to the start of a trail, and then we had like a 3.5-hour hike, which was really beautiful. And if you're into that, you will be served here.
Excellent. Students asking, have you done or experienced anything at Yale that you never thought you would? And just to set the stage, these students all joined us in August. So we have one intake each year. All students in the GBS program start in August and finish in May. So they've been here about almost 3 months now. So have you experienced anything that surprised you or you never thought you would at Yale?
I guess one thing that really surprised me, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by it, is the amount of resources that are available to everyone. As UG pointed out, if you want to plan something, plan it, and it's going to happen. If you want to find a new library to go to, there's a new library, and it looks like Harry Potter. There's just so much out there. And I think actually Dean Bach actually alluded to this earlier in the year, is that we all kind of have our Yale moment and where we kind of figure out, wow, we're actually here. And mine was sitting in the library. I know, but in the library. And I was really just like, wow, I'm here and this is surreal. And there's just so much out there to discover. And I don't know, there's just so much we can do. Last Friday, we went to an opera, which was amazing. $5 for students. I've never been to a $5 opera. And it was high-class quality. There's just so much that Yale has to offer, and I've had so many aha moments.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yale offers so much. It's amazing. And like the campus itself, it's beautiful. And actually at the same moment, like a Yale moment in the library, in the law school library, which is my favorite. And I would say you have so many things. Opera is amazing. We also earlier in the year we've been to a concert. Yale concerts are truly incredible. It's insane how good they are. And yes, I would say.
Yeah, I would just like to add into that about the talks that are happening each day. So like primarily, I don't know, from the entire university, I cannot even count the number of talks that would happen every day. I think around 50 or something. So people ranging from governors to journalists to actors, they're just here and doing like 1-2 hour sessions, which you can like just talk to them and interact with them, which is amazing. Apart from that, something I really found interesting was the museums on campus. So right across SOM, we have the Peabody Museum, and there you'll like see an entire dinosaur skeleton structure, and you can just sit beneath that and study or do whatever, which is something really amazing. The art gallery is extraordinary as well. I was just amazed, like this is supposed to be a university art gallery. It isn't supposed to be that good. It has Van Gogh and I don't know, Picasso, all of the amazing artists and their sculptures there. So that was something that really blew my mind.
For me, it was the way professors and students interacted here, which I wasn't used to coming from Europe. Every professor really encourages you to come and see him and have a face-to-face conversation, only the two of you, which gives you the chance to just chat or dig deeper into some topic that is interesting to you, while tapping into the resources of sometimes winners of a Nobel Prize or just super genius people that have accomplished so much and that are just so rich in their information about the topic that they cover. And that has been amazing so far. I've tried to schedule appointments with all of my professors. They basically answer within half an hour. So they're super responsive, and then you just grab a coffee with them, and that's really cool.
Right. So what are your goals for after your year in the GBS program, and how is the school working with you to help you meet those goals?
So I guess I'll go first. I'm looking, so I didn't do too much thinking before coming here, and the first boat that kind of gets through school and recruiting is consulting. So I hopped on that boat, and now I'm interviewing for consulting roles, but I'm also really interested in like brand management roles. So I think the main focus for me is really finding a way that has a generalist track where I can learn and just take in as much information as possible. There are a lot of resources. We have 2 devoted staff members that are 100%, maybe like 150% even, devoted to like helping us find jobs. Camilla and Natalie, great resources. And like there's a lot of resources outside of SOM that might be best suited for the GBS program, but that are also very conveniently located close by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me it was similar. I'm now looking for working consulting afterwards, so I have some interviews coming up. And another thing I would like to add to what Oli said is that besides the resources we have on campus, Yale has an amazing network of alumni. So I reached out to some alumni to ask questions, and I was really amazed by how kind and nice they are. They really take your questions by heart, and they help you, and it's amazing. So it's a great resource also.
So talking a bit more about alumni, because there are no alumni of the GBS program yet. You all will be the first alumni. So what alumni are you reaching out to, and how are you able to make connections with alumni?
So basically, there's a portal you can access, and you have the name of all the alumni. You can, for example, type the country they're working in, or the country they're from, or also if you're interested in a specific company, you have the list of people working there, or more simply just look on LinkedIn and see SOM students. So that's another type of way to do it. Otherwise, it happened that I asked to Natalie and Camilla, our CDO staff, to put me in contact if they knew somebody from a specific company, and they did. So we have many tools to reach out to alumni.
Great, and I'll explain as well who Natalie and Camilla are, 2 dedicated representatives within our Career Development Office, or CDO, you might hear us say, and they are dedicated to working with the GBS students. So they're providing career resources to GBS that are separate and distinct from the resources provided to the MBA students. And not only do they work with students directly as coaches, but they're also representing the program facing towards employers to help employers learn about the program and the talent that the students have here, and helping those students to find jobs all over the world. So talking a bit more about balance, can you tell me what is a typical day like? I know it's hard to think of a typical day, but maybe think of a day this week and tell us what your plans are for the day. And then how do you balance classwork, activities, friends, family back home? I know we've talked a bit about time management. So what kind of good tips can we give there?
So yeah, I'll start over. So as for the social events, what I try doing is that I've subscribed to a lot of mailing lists around campus, which actually send you a weekly newsletter over the weekend. And then on Sunday night, I actually sit and just fill my calendar. Okay, these are the talks that I want to attend, and these are the social events that I would want to go to, and so that they do not clash with my classes. So it's like classes are going on, and then you have a lot of readings or assignments or project work to do. So like that fills up the time between that. But then again, you always have time to go for a talk, go to a museum. I just recently went to the Cushing Center, which if you Google up, it's like a museum of human brains. So it has like about 400 human brain samples by Dr. Cushing, who was the originator of neurosurgery in the world. So there are like so much amazing things that you can do, and then there's like another side list that you have. Okay, these are the things that I want to get done at Yale. Then you just incorporate them into your calendar and just move forward with them.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I also check out all the events that I want to attend at the start of every week, or at Sunday before the week starts actually. And I try to balance that with schoolwork that I have on my radar. Eventually, I can just say your calendar is going to be full every day.
Yeah.
Because there are many cool opportunities. And then on the other hand, there is a lot of schoolwork. I kind of underestimated that before coming here. That being said, all the schoolwork is very interesting, since you can basically choose most of your courses however, the way the courses you just want to take. And I feel that at the end of the day, you'll always look back and say everything you did today was very productive and very cool, but you will feel exhausted at the end of the day, at the end of every week, but in a positive way.
I just want to say something different from Nikki. I don't think I'm overwhelmed with the coursework. Personally, I think it's really dependent on your degree and your MIM degree. For me at UBC, it was very group focused, so I'm used to this group setting, but there is, not going to lie, there's a lot of group work, and you're going to get to know each other really well. But what I would say is that check out the emails on Sunday. Actually, one of my roles as cohort representative is to send a weekly email telling everybody to sign up for these events. So they fill up your calendar, but it's really important that you also set aside a time for them. So a lot of the time, I see some of my student colleagues not putting a lot of time into these events, and I really personally feel as though you're kind of missing out a little bit on the full student experience. But I'm going to caveat that again, saying like school is the most important thing, and you have to just remind yourself of that sometimes.
So in addition to being in elective classes alongside students in the MBA and the MAM program and students from across Yale University, how have you expanded your network while you've been here at Yale? And one thing I wanted to specifically ask about is, are any of you participating in our mentorship program with the EMBA program?
Yeah, I can start off with that maybe because I have this awesome experience with the mentorship program. My mentor from the EMBA program, so the executive MBA program, is very caring. He's extremely nice. He basically reaches out to me every week that he's on campus. He helped me a lot with making professional decisions, but also has turned out to be a good friend only after a couple of meetings. So that is awesome. Concerning the general network I already built here during the first 3 months, I recently looked up my LinkedIn and I saw I made like 80 new connections over the last couple of weeks only. So you just meet so many new people that at one point might help you with important decisions or with providing resources for your career and personally.
Great. So our time has almost come to a close. We have just a few minutes left. So I'll ask each of you to answer this last question. I'll start with Olivier. Is there one piece of advice, one thing that you wish that you had known, sitting in the shoes of prospective students right now, that you would share, or one experience that students definitely shouldn't miss out on? And while you all think of an answer for that, I will note that there are many opportunities to connect with us in the next few weeks. My colleague Joanne Legler will be traveling in Asia soon, so if you're attending HKUST, look for an opportunity to connect with Joanne. I'll be traveling later this afternoon to IGADE in Mexico City and Monterrey, so looking forward to meeting students on the road there. And also connect with us virtually. Our students are happy to talk with you and want to keep the conversation going. So, piece of advice?
Yeah, I guess first of all, it's just if you have any questions that you haven't had addressed, please feel free to just reach out to me. I think our emails were up on the yeah, there they are. So send me an email. I love to connect if it's over coffee or whatever virtually. And one thing I wish I knew, I guess, was just how amazing my colleagues would have been. I think they bring so many different experiences, but they also help me like push myself into thinking of different solutions and different ways of addressing classwork and schoolwork. And I think I just, from day one, would have considered that the biggest opportunity and made it the best.
Yeah, I would just say maybe be ready to embrace Yale. So like everything, it offers so much. So just be open to everything, to events, to participate to clubs, and to be actively involved in everything, because Yale offers so much. You just have to take it. So that's.
Yeah, for me, like a key takeaway for you guys would be to never doubt yourself. And in case you think that maybe something won't happen, just go there and apply for that. Because like 90% of success is just showing up, and I truly believe that along the lines of my career or along the lines of my life. So yeah, just don't doubt yourself and apply to everything as much as you can.
Great.
One last piece of advice from my side would be to really clarify your expectations that you have for the program with admissions. So if Joanne comes to your city, to your university, talk to her about the program, clarify the questions, and then if you're sure you want to come here, really don't be intimidated by the cool name of the university or by the elite status that it definitely has, but just try to present yourself in the most authentic way, and everything will take its own way from there on.
Great. Well, that's excellent advice. And I want to thank my panelists for being here today and sharing your insights as current students in the program. And thank you all for joining us. We look forward to continuing the conversation and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.